Have you ever wondered if pricey crochet hooks are really worth the money? Me too. Let's find out. I think a lot of craftspeople could probably attest to the fact that the right tool can really make a huge impact in the job that you are doing. And that really made me wonder if the same thing holds true for crochet hooks. We all know that crochet hooks can range from dirt cheap all the way up to insanely expensive, depending on the type and brand and style of hook that you're trying to get. Recently, Furls Crochet Hooks reached out to me and offered to send me some crochet hooks for free for me to try out. I have never used any of their hooks before, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to compare their crochet hooks with some other crochet hooks that I have of varying price points. So today we are going to try out 5 different crochet hooks and compare them to one another. Now, there are more differences to crochet hooks than the price alone. And I think that's pretty evident when we look at these 5 hooks side by side. They are all a 5.5 millimeter hook, or a size I if you use the letter sizing. But if I were to use these different hooks, I would definitely get a different outcome, and it would affect my gauge on a project if I switched from one brand to another brand, even in the same size. The hooks I'm holding in my hand range in price point. My cheapest hook in my hand would be the ones from Dollar Tree, which cost me $1.25. And the most expensive hook in my hand would be this Furls hook, which retails for $28. I am very curious to see if all the differences in these hooks make an impact to my preferences and which hooks I tend to gravitate towards. Up until this point, I would say that the cheap metal hooks are my favorite hooks, and I have made my metal hooks more ergonomic by putting silicone beads on the handles. I do have a couple of videos showing you how to make ergonomic crochet hook handles for your straight metal crochet hooks using a variety of different techniques, and some of them are super cheap. I'll put some links to those videos in the description. What I figured we could do is make some swatches with each one of these hooks, and then I can talk about what I like or dislike about these hooks, and we can compare the swatches to see how the gauge differs between all 5 of these hooks. Hopefully by the end of this, I can decide whether or not I prefer these more expensive crochet hooks to the cheap hooks, which I tend to favor. And maybe this will help you decide which crochet hook style you would like to use the most. All right, now that we know what we're going to be doing in this video, let's grab some yarn and start crocheting. All right, we are set up at my work table now, and we are going to start making some swatches. I have picked out a yarn. This is Big Twist carousel yarn. It is super soft and plush, and this yarn recommends using a 5.5 millimeter hook, which is the hook that we will be trying out today. So the plan is we're going to make some swatches with the same number of stitches and the same number of rows with all of our different 5 crochet hooks, and then we are going to compare those swatches and see what the difference in gauge is like. And hopefully by the end of this video, you and I will have decided which crochet hooks we like to use the most and which ones are worth the money. If you use any of these hooks regularly, please drop me a comment now before seeing how they perform, and tell me what you think of these hooks and why you choose the hooks that you choose. So let's grab our yarn and get started here. I thought this would also be a good opportunity to show off this really cool 3D printed yarn spinner that I got from a shop over on Etsy. The name of the shop is either Swilly or Swiley Solutions. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. And this yarn spinner is really cool. It is modular. The post of the spinner comes apart in the center here, and you can use just this shorter piece or both pieces put together. And when you put both pieces together, it is large enough to accommodate using big 1 pound skeins of worsted weight yarn, or even like big balls of Bernat blanket. Big balls of Bernat blanket. I use a lot of chenille yarn for plushies, and this definitely works to accommodate for that as well. And it comes with 2 different bases. This guy here is a weighted spinner base that you can use while you're at home, and this is a travel base, so you can screw this on, and with the clip at the end of this post, you can clip it onto a wristlet or a bag and carry your yarn around with you. It turns into a mobile yarn spinner. Though I am quite the homebody, I have not had the chance to try out using this flat plate and taking my yarn around with me, but it's nice to have options if you are one of those people who does like to travel and go outside with your crochet. It has these little points here, so what you do is just screw the little point tip onto the post. Then we'll grab our yarn and shove the post through the center of our skein. Then you can take off this little point and screw it back onto your base. That way you don't lose track of anything. And now that we've got our yarn on our post, we can just screw the post back into our weighted spinning base. This video is not sponsored by any of these companies or any of these products. I just thought they were cool and thought this would be a good opportunity to show off some products that you might like. We've got our yarn set up. It's time to start crocheting. Overall, I think this Dollar Tree crochet hook performs really well, especially considering the price point of only $1.25. The plastic ergonomic handle of this hook is quite comfortable in your hand to use, and I didn't feel like it makes my hand feel fatigued at all. I also really like that the size of the crochet hook is embedded into the plastic handle, so it's not just printed on there, which can rub off or fade with use. The hook itself is relatively smooth to use, although I did feel that there were some times that it was feeling a little bit sticky or harder to pull in and out of the loops while using this kind of fuzzy haloed yarn. Since this was the first swatch that I made, I did stop a couple of times to measure the chain and measure my progress, so I do think that that negatively impacted the time on making this square just a bit. My time in making this swatch was 8 minutes and 19 seconds, and the finished swatch ended up measuring 3.75 inches long by 3.5 inches high, and that was 12 stitches wide by 8 rows high. And while this swatch did have the longest time to make it, the distance between it and its nearest competitor was still only about 30 seconds. Next up is our metal Boye style crochet hook, and I feel like overall this one performed pretty decent. It was very similar in feel to the Dollar Tree crochet hook, although I would say that it is more comfortable to hold just because I have these silicone beads that I have applied to the hook in order to make it a little bit more comfortable for my hand. I am not sure if that was one of the factors contributing to the shorter time to make this swatch than with the Dollar Tree crochet hook. However, I was able to complete this swatch in 7 minutes and 24 seconds. The swatch, however, ended up almost exactly the same size as the Dollar Tree crochet hook swatch, and that was 3.75 inches wide by 3.5 inches tall. I feel like these hooks are typically a really solid performer to me, and especially since I have started using different methods to make the handles more ergonomic, like with the silicone beads. They are one of my favorite go-to hooks, and I do have these in a wide variety of sizes, so I think that these are probably my most used hook, and overall a really solid performance. Next up, we have the Ophire resin crochet hook, and I had a pretty decent time crocheting with this hook as well. I will say that the inline style is a little bit harder for me to use, probably just because I'm not used to using that style of hook. The head of inline crochet hooks does not extend as far out from the neck as you find with the tapered style hooks, and the hook itself is a little bit sharper, and I found it slightly harder to grab the yarn for my yarn overs when making my stitches using this hook. There were a couple of times where my yarn slipped and I had to try 3 or even 4 times before I finally got the yarn to hook on the yarn overs. And now this is something I could probably get better at with repeated use. This probably did contribute to a slightly slower time in making this swatch. It took me 7 minutes and 47 seconds to make this swatch. And interestingly, this swatch did turn out larger than all of the others. It measures 4.25 inches wide by 4 inches tall when complete. Despite the slightly slower time and the issues I described of having trouble with my yarn overs, I did find crocheting with this hook to be quite pleasurable. It is comfortable in your hand and pretty smooth to use. I think with some practice and repeated use, it would become one of my more favorite hooks in my collection. Next up is the Tulip Etimo crochet hook, and I gotta say, I freaking love this hook. I got these in 3 sizes in a 3-piece set from Joann on sale about a year ago, and since that point, whenever I have the opportunity to use this hook, it is my go-to hook for my projects. It has definitely become my most used hook in rotation for the 5.5 and 6.5 millimeter sizes. The rubber grip is super comfortable in your hand, and the metal hook itself is so smooth. I mean, it glides in and out of these stitches like butter. Definitely the smoothest, easiest to use crochet hook in my collection. And this is evident in the time it took me to make the swatch. This was my fastest time by a long shot. This swatch took me 5 minutes and 22 seconds to make, which is almost 2 full minutes shorter than its closest competitor. It definitely feels a lot faster to use, and I was honestly surprised by the massive difference in time. And finally, we have the Furls Aura Streamline metal crochet hook. I wasn't sure how much I was going to like using the inline hooks, and I did have a little bit of slippage on my yarn overs, similar to what I experienced with the Ophire hook. Overall though, I wouldn't say it's big enough of an issue that I would count down the inline hooks for that. Now, I'm not sure if this was because of the finish that is on this specific crochet hook, but one thing I thought was really interesting was that I could feel exactly where I was at any point throughout each stitch. I could feel every yarn over and every loop sliding over the head of this crochet hook, and it really gave you a lot of feedback to know without looking exactly where you were in the process of making each stitch. It kind of reminded me of the difference between driving a luxury like sedan versus driving a sports car, where in the sports car you can feel every bump of the road and you really can feel the feedback of driving the car a lot more than when you're in the luxury car. While it's still a super comfortable and luxurious ride, you don't get that same responsive feel. This hook did give me the second fastest time at 7 minutes flat, and the final swatch measured 4 inches by 4 inches. Now, I'm sure with personal tension, this could vary for person to person, so you might get a slightly different result depending on your tension and how you make your stitches. The Dollar Tree was slightly smaller than the Boye style metal hook. These two swatches were so similar. It is really shocking to me. The size of the heads side by side look so drastically different, but the end result was quite the same. I wonder if that's due to the smoothness of the hook and how easily it moves in and out of the yarn. This Ophire hook was very smooth as well. This resin is a really slick surface. I think that it most likely what has caused the Ophire swatch to turn out larger than the other swatches might have to do with the placement of the taper of the hook neck. If I hold it side by side here with the Furls hook, you can see that the Furls neck stays the same size for quite a while before it starts to taper to become larger. Whereas the Ophire hook starts to taper sooner and become larger. And I feel like that might be what impacted it to make this swatch turn out so much larger than these two. I don't know about you guys, but this is so fascinating to me. I don't think I could have predicted the results that we had today. And honestly, this was super fun. I don't think you can go wrong with your choice out of any of these. Like, if you didn't want to spend more money to get the more expensive hooks, I honestly wouldn't blame you. The price difference is quite large. I will overlay prices of these on the screen here with the different hooks on top of their swatches. If you buy the hook individually for the Boye style metal hooks, those are like $2 each, $1.98 I think was the price point I found. To move up to a nicer hook, Ophire has some hooks that are like $13 or $14. This hook specifically, I believe, is priced around $18. This Tulip hook, as part of the set, it was probably around $16 or $17. But individually, if you bought one hook alone, I believe this hook is $20. And then we've got the Furls hook is $28 for this specific model, though they do have some that are, I think, like $23 that are not the Aura ones. These have the cool finish on them, and so they are a little bit more expensive. So you're looking at, it's at least 10 times more as a factor of dollars when you compare like a $2 hook with this like $20 price range of hooks. I think that if you can get these as like a special gift for yourself, if somebody wants to get you a present, of something nice for you to crochet with, I would say that the investment in these hooks, in my opinion, is worth it. But also, if you don't have the money, as you can see, it's not that hugely different of an outcome. I would say the feel of these hooks on the nicer hooks was a lot smoother, and I do feel specifically with this Tulip Etimo hook that my ability to crochet was a lot faster. I think ultimately whatever you prefer is going to be the best for you, but if you don't have money to invest in getting more expensive hooks, honestly, I don't think that it's so much of a difference that I would say that the cheaper hooks are bad and the more expensive hooks are good, if that makes sense. I could have happily continued on with my life crocheting with my cheaper hooks and never known the difference and been like, I'm not missing out on anything. Having gotten the more expensive hooks, I do feel like they are smoother, and it does make the experience a little bit more enjoyable for me. That's a personal choice though, honestly. If I had to pick one of these hooks to continue using, I would pick the Tulip hook. I just really, really like that one. I will be using these Furls hooks, probably putting these Ophire hooks back into the rotation of the hooks I'm using a lot as well. This was so fun. I was not sure that this was going to be fun. I thought it might be more of a chore to do all these different swatches, because swatches are not fun. I mean, let's be honest, I don't think swatches are a good time. Most people really hate gauge swatches, and I'm just doing like 5 gauge swatches in a row here, but this was a blast. I had a really good time trying out and comparing all of these hooks to one another and learning something more about how they respond to the yarn and how they feel in my hand and how that impacts our finished product. Super interesting to me. I hope you found this interesting and helpful. I will have some links down below to the different hooks that you can purchase. I will also put a link down below to the Etsy shop for Swiley Solutions in case you would like to go check out this yarn spinner. This has honestly become my favorite yarn spinner and yarn tool that I have. I use this more than any of the other things that I have, any of my other yarn bowls or my other yarn spinners. I really hope that you had fun watching this because I had a blast making this video. It was really interesting to me and educational, and I hope that it helped you out in your decisions down the road as to what crochet hooks that you personally would like to invest in. As I've said, there's no wrong answers here. It's all about personal preference, and maybe the experiments we've done here today will help to inform you a little bit more about that and help you decide what you would like to spend your hard-earned money on in the future. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like because that would really help me out and you out in the YouTube algorithm. You might also consider subscribing to my channel because I do crochet videos like this as well as tutorials every other Wednesday, and I love to make new crochet friends. And speaking of crochet friends, you can always follow me on social media. I am Graceface Creates on all platforms. Thanks again for watching and happy crocheting.